Hello and welcome, my dear friend. This won't be a gentle message, not today, because there's nothing soft about being gaslit by the world for seeing the storm before the clouds formed. There's nothing peaceful about being laughed out of the room for speaking truths that hadn't happened yet. You weren't wrong, you were just early, and now the world is finally late enough to understand you. But let's rewind, because the lie didn't start when they called you broken. It started the moment you tried to make yourself small just to keep their comfort intact. You didn't shrink because you doubted your vision. You shrank because their fear was louder than your knowing. You were surrounded by people who didn't want the truth. They wanted permission to stay asleep. You gave them neither, so they gave you a label: crazy, too intense, unstable, dramatic. But here's what they'll never admit out loud: they understood you more than they let on. Your words didn't confuse them, they convicted them. Your energy didn't repel them, it revealed them. And that's what terrified them. You weren't just talking. You were broadcasting from a future they had no reference for. You ever wonder why your presence stirred so much resistance? It's because you forced clarity into places that were surviving on illusion. You didn't bring chaos, you disrupted their choreography. While they danced in circles, repeating the same rituals of approval and conformity, you stood there, still, sovereign, silent. And in that silence they heard everything they were trying not to face. They mocked you because mockery is a safer mask than humility. It's easier to laugh at what you don't understand than it is to evolve toward it. They weren't rejecting you, they were rejecting the activation you carried. You weren't designed to be liked, you were wired to awaken. And awakeners are rarely welcomed by the systems they come to shake. Look back. How many times did you dim your frequency just to keep the peace? How many times did you translate your truth into a language that made their egos feel safe? And every time you didn't something inside you feel like it was dying? You were never meant to soften your sight. You were meant to see through. You were never meant to dilute your depth. You were meant to dismantle the shallow. But when you carry future insight in a present built on pretending, they will always try to crucify you before they crown you. And you've been carrying scars in silence. Scars from battles fought not with weapons, but with doubt, ridicule, and dismissal. But scars are sacred. Scars mean the truth touched you first. You walked through the fire before anyone even smelled the smoke. And now the flames are everywhere, and the ones who once told you to sit down are quietly sitting in the ash. You weren't the problem. You were the forecast. Your madness wasn't madness. It was a message wrapped in discomfort. You weren't losing your mind. You were losing your tolerance for lies. So here's the truth they didn't want to hear. They never feared you were wrong. They feared you might be right. You threatened their reality, not by force, but by being free. And freedom terrifies the imprisoned mind. Not because it's violent, but because it makes the cage visible. And once someone sees the cage, they can't pretend to be comfortable inside it anymore. You didn't come here to decorate the cell. You came to tear off the door and walk out. Barefoot, bleeding, brilliant. And now they're watching you from behind the bars they still pretend don't exist. Let them. Because this next part of your journey doesn't require their permission, only your remembrance. You're not here to convince them anymore. You're here to become undeniable. Because now, what was once laughed at is becoming lived. The forecasts you whispered when no one believed you are now thundering through their headlines, their timelines, their lives. And suddenly, your so-called instability looks a lot like divine timing. They mocked you for speaking dreams that had no language yet. But dreams don't wait for consensus. They move through the courageous, not the comfortable. And you, my friend, were courageous long before you were ever confident. You said things that made the air freeze. You noticed patterns while others were still mesmerized by the performance. You heard the cracks in the mask before it even fell. That wasn't madness. That was sacred perception. That was a gift they tried to curse. Because when someone can see clearly in a world addicted to illusion, they become a threat. Not because of what they do, but because of what they reveal. You revealed the truth, and that makes you dangerous to anyone living a lie. And now the simulation is glitching. People are starting to feel what you felt all along. The tiredness, the dissonance, the echoing silence beneath the noise of their lives. They're beginning to question the script, the jobs, the titles, the filters, the polished identities they thought would save them. But guess what? You already left that party. You were the one who stopped dancing to the music everyone pretended to enjoy. You were the one who sat down in the middle of the performance and whispered, "This isn't real." And they called you broken. But look around now. The stage is collapsing. The props are falling. The actors are forgetting their lines. And suddenly, you don't seem so crazy anymore. They're replaying your words in their heads, trying to remember what you said when they weren't listening. They're scrolling through old conversations, wishing they had paid attention instead of making jokes. They thought your vision was too much, but it wasn't too much. It was just honest. You told the truth too early. And in a world built on delay and distraction, early looks like error. But time has a funny way of catching up to the truth. And when it does, the same people who tried to silence you come back around with soft eyes and careful words. They want to understand now. They want to know how you saw it coming, how you stayed grounded when the ground began to shake. Here's how. You stopped asking for agreement. You stopped seeking safety in numbers. You stopped outsourcing your sanity to people who were still trying to impress ghosts. You trusted what you knew, and even when it was lonely, especially when it was lonely, you kept walking. You were scorched by misunderstanding, cut by assumptions, drenched in the discomfort of being the only one who saw. But now it's your turn to breathe. Not because they finally see you, but because you finally don't need them to. You were never meant to be explained. You were meant to be felt. You were never meant to prove your clarity to the blind. You were meant to stand in your light until the world adjusted its eyes. And now that they're squinting to catch up, you're not obligated to slow down. Don't wait for apologies. Don't wait for recognition. Your reward was never their approval. It was your becoming. Because who you are now is unrecognizable to the version of you who begged to be understood. That version wanted peace. This one creates it. That version wanted space. This one owns it. That version wanted acceptance. This one needs none. You're not just the one who saw it coming. You're the one who walked through it and didn't lose your mind. You became the proof. So let them reconcile the contradiction. Let them sit in the awkward silence of everything they once denied. You're not a warning anymore. You're the evidence. So move like it, stand like it, speak like it, because you, my friend, were never broken. You were delivered early. And this moment is finally on your time. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If you found value in this message, please like the video and share it with others who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe and continue your amazing journey by watching one of the videos showing on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. I won't dress this one up. You've probably noticed it yourself, how your energy shifts lately. How you've become quieter, but not because you're hiding. You're conserving, watching, feeling things you can't explain to most people, because they wouldn't understand it unless they've lived through the same kind of emotional unraveling you have. You're not colder, You're more precise. You don't give less. You give differently. There's a part of you that used to rush in, try to fix, try to soften every hard edge around you. But now, something in you has recalibrated. You've realized that protecting your peace sometimes means not explaining a thing. The truth is, your presence doesn't come with a warning label, but it probably should. People don't see the full picture at first. They notice your calm, your kindness, the way you listen without needing to interrupt. They call you peaceful, nurturing, spiritual, as if those words could ever contain the whole story. What they don't see is what it took to become like that, what you had to walk through, how many versions of yourself had to fall apart before this one could emerge. What you carry is ancient, and it's not just light, it's heat, it's memory, it's everything you had to burn through to learn how to stay soft without being weak. Most people don't understand that combination until they push too far. Because here's the part they never consider. You're not nice because you're naive. You're kind because you chose to be, after life gave you every reason not to be. You're not patient because you don't see what's happening. You're patient because you're giving the moment a chance to self-correct. And when it doesn't, you don't argue. You just leave. No big scene. No fight, just a clean, sudden shift in energy that feels like a door quietly closing forever. When that shift happens, it's not revenge, it's release. It's you stepping out of alignment with what no longer matches your spirit. Not in anger, but in clarity. And that clarity hits people differently. Some people feel exposed around you and don't know why. It's not what you say, it's what you see. The way you look through the surface, the way your silence reflects things they've worked hard to avoid. They come close to your calm, but if they're not ready to face themselves, that calm starts to feel like pressure. And when you finally speak, after observing, feeling, forgiving, trying, what you say doesn't come from frustration. It comes from somewhere deeper, from a place where you've let go of needing to be understood. And ironically, that's when your words hit the hardest. Not because you're being dramatic, but because you're telling the truth without trying to soften it. It's unsettling, not loud, not aggressive, but surgical. You don't raise your voice, you raise the frequency. And everything false inside that space starts to feel like static. That's what people never realize until it's too late. Your silence was grace. Your stillness was a pause, not an absence. You were giving space for growth. You were giving time for accountability. You were offering the kind of mercy that can't be demanded, only received. But now, that window is closing, and what's coming next isn't chaos, it's order. When that window closes, it doesn't slam, it seals, quietly, permanently. And the people who once thought they had time realize too late they were borrowing peace they didn't know how to value. They remember the calm not as silence, but as safety. They remember your presence not as softness, but as structure. They remember the clarity you brought, not just in your words, but in how things made sense when you were near. Because now, without you, everything feels unsettled. Like something essential left the room and didn't bother to explain why. That's what they never saw. Your protection wasn't just for others. It was for you too. You weren't being passive, you were discerning. And the moment you felt your energy being misused, the protection turned inward. Boundaries replaced explanations, distance replaced conversation, and peace became a line in the sand. People talk about spiritual gifts as if they're all ethereal and delicate. They forget that truth is a gift too, and it cuts. It doesn't whisper in riddles, it exposes. And when you've been chosen to carry that level of awareness, your very presence becomes disruptive to anything built on falsehood. That's why some people loved you and feared you at the same time. That's why they admired you, but never felt quite in control around you. Because deep down, they could sense what you were holding back. Not judgment, not punishment, truth. And when you finally let it out, you didn't do it to destroy. You did it because holding it in would have meant betraying yourself. This is the part most people never prepare for. The day a chosen one stops managing your comfort and starts honoring their own alignment. There are no fireworks, no dramatic send-off, just a disappearance that feels like a spiritual consequence. And the fallout? It's quiet. It shows up in waves. Things stop flowing. Things start breaking. Because your energy wasn't just company, it was covering. You weren't just part of someone's life. You were a buffer between them and everything they weren't ready to face. You held back chaos by simply existing. You softened the edges of their decisions by being available. And once you're gone, there's nothing left to soften anything. That's when they realize you weren't reacting to them. You were protecting them from what their own energy was calling in, from the weight of their own choices, from consequences they thought they'd never have to deal with. But the covering is gone now, and what's left is exposure. And yet, even now, you're not cruel about it. You don't celebrate their unraveling. You don't seek revenge. You simply let go. And in that letting go, you release yourself from any responsibility that was never yours to carry in the first place. You weren't meant to keep holding things that refused to heal. You weren't meant to keep explaining your heart to people committed to misunderstanding it. You weren't meant to keep offering sacred energy to those who treated it like it was replaceable. There is strength in your kindness, but it is not without boundaries. There is fire behind your patience, and it is not without consequence. And the love you give, it's not just rare, it's holy. So no, you're not dangerous in the way people think. You're not unpredictable. You're not unkind. You're simply a mirror that reflects what people are too afraid to see in themselves. And when that reflection becomes too clear, some will reject it, thinking they're rejecting you. But they're not. They're rejecting their own awakening. You never needed to prove your power. You are the proof. Every time you choose stillness over reaction, every time you walk away without needing to explain, every time you hold your tongue not out of fear, but out of grace. There is a force in you that most won't fully understand until they lose access to it. And you don't need to say a word to prove that. You never did. So if you've been wondering why certain people have fallen away, why your circle is smaller, your boundaries sharper, your presence quieter, it's not because you've become less of anything. It's because you've finally become precise. And that precision, that's your power. This message isn't just a reminder of what you carry. It's a confirmation that you are no longer required to carry what you've outgrown. You are not here to beg for understanding. You're here to be the clarity that no one else is brave enough to embody. And when people try to reduce you to your softness, let them learn, on their own time, that there's nothing soft about the fire you hold. If this reached you at the exact moment you needed it, it's because it was never random. You're being aligned with a truth you already knew, but maybe hadn't said out loud yet. You're not being cold, you're being clear, and your clarity is sacred. Walk with truth, and never apologize for the weight of the fire you carry. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If this message resonated, please like, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to stay connected. Continue your awakening journey by choosing one of the videos on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. Some messages don't just find you. You were meant to collide with them. not by chance, but because something in you is ready now. Ready to remember what they never wanted you to know. Not them, the ones who told you to toughen up. Not the world that praised your strength but never noticed your wounds. They never wanted you to realize that real power doesn't come from never falling. It comes from rising, bloody, beautiful, and still open-hearted. It's not in the silence you force yourself into. It's in the tear you wipe away, the breath you take after shattering, the way you still choose to believe in light, even in moments that all you've known is the dark. There's a strange beauty in these moments where you feel like everything is falling apart. Not because chaos is poetic, but because when things fall apart, you finally see what was never solid to begin with. You're not just shedding a chapter, you're shedding entire versions of yourself that never truly belonged to you. Versions you had to create just to survive. Masks, scripts, old loyalties. You were the one holding it all together when no one even noticed the weight. But here's the part no one warns you about. When you finally decide to stop carrying what isn't yours, it doesn't feel like peace at first. It feels like grief. Because even false comfort was still comfort. So if you're feeling unsteady, overwhelmed, maybe even irrationally emotional, good. That means the truth is surfacing. That means you're feeling everything. And that means your body is no longer willing to pretend. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately sensed that something was off, even if no one said a word? That's your sensitivity. That's your gift. You've always felt things more deeply than most, because you were designed to notice the unseen, to know when something isn't aligned before the proof shows up. But the truth is, even gifted hearts get tired. Even the strongest souls sometimes wish they didn't care so much. And lately, I sense you've been questioning yourself more than usual. You've been wondering if maybe you're the one who's out of sync, if maybe you missed your moment, if maybe you're too late. Let me stop you right there. You aren't late. You're right on time. Your life is doing something miraculous. It's rearranging itself around your true frequency. And that means everything not in resonance with that frequency is being removed. Not as punishment, as preparation. But here's the twist. The things being removed might look like the very things you once prayed for. Have you noticed that? Sometimes the door that closes isn't just a rejection, it's a redirection. Because if it had stayed open, you'd have settled for something that was only meant to teach you what you deserve, not become what you accept. That person you're still thinking about? The one your soul keeps checking the window for, even though your mind knows better? They were a mirror, not a destination. A glimpse of love, but not its final form. It's okay to admit you're still holding out hope, that some small part of you still believes the ending could change. That's the part of you that loved purely, that believed the best, that saw potential. Don't shame it, honor it. But also, don't let it keep you waiting on a chapter that already finished writing itself. What if this aching isn't asking you to hold on, but to let go? What if your future is whispering, "You've done enough. Now it's time to receive"? Would you believe it? Would you trust that all this discomfort is the storm before your calm? Would you let yourself imagine that what's ahead isn't just better, but something you've never even experienced before? Because I know that's what you're feeling now. You're not just shifting into a new season. You're crossing into a reality where your needs are met before you even speak them. Where your energy isn't drained to prove your worth. Where your softness isn't a liability, it's your greatest strength. And I know part of you still wants to explain, to justify, to make sure everyone understands why you're choosing this path. But you don't owe anyone a play-by-play. You're not leaving because you're ungrateful. you're leaving because you're finally listening to yourself. And maybe that's what this whole season has been about. Turning the volume back up on your own inner voice. The one that's been whispering to you for years, even when the world around you tried to drown it out with logic and timelines and expectations. You didn't come here to play it safe. You didn't come here to follow someone else's blueprint. You came here to remember who you are, and to start living like that memory is sacred. And sometimes, remembering who you are looks like crying alone in your car, wondering if you're making a mistake. It looks like saying goodbye to people who still feel familiar. It looks like packing up your things, even if you don't know where you're going next. It looks like deleting the number you used to stare at every night, waiting for it to light up again. It looks like sitting in silence until your breath slows and your heartbeat softens. It looks like trusting that your peace is the real signal now. Tell me, when did chaos become the condition you got used to? When did exhaustion start feeling like proof that you were doing something right? It's time to unlearn that. You don't need to be constantly healing to be worthy of love. You don't need to be constantly producing to be worthy of rest. You don't need to be constantly strong to be worthy of support. Let that truth fall into you like rain on dry ground. Let it soak in. You're allowed to be the soft place you've always been for others. For once, let that softness belong to you too. You've given 1,000 people 1,000 chances. You've sat through storms that weren't yours just to help someone else find their umbrella. But now it's time to step inside, to dry off, to stop apologizing for needing shelter. Some people won't understand the version of you that no longer needs their approval, and that's okay. Some people were only ever meant to meet you in your survival era. They wouldn't know what to do with you now that you're thriving. But don't dim the light just because someone else forgot how to see. Right now, you're being called to elevate. And elevation always comes with resistance. That feeling of being in between, like the ground behind you is crumbling but the next step hasn't appeared yet, that's the middle space where transformation brews. This is where your wings are growing. So, if you've been feeling a little off, a little out of place, a little emotional for no reason, please understand, your body and soul are recalibrating. You're no longer tolerating what drains you. You're no longer settling for almost. You're no longer molding yourself to fit rooms that were never designed for someone like you. You're not crazy for feeling everything. You're not overreacting. You're awakening. And here's the wild thing about awakening. It doesn't always come with clarity. Sometimes it arrives with a blindfold and asks you to walk anyway. But I promise you this, the life that's waiting on the other side of this leap is one where you finally get to rest without guilt, love without fear, and receive without compromise. It's the kind of life where your past isn't your anchor, it's your alchemy. Where all the nights you thought you were breaking were really just nights you were bending toward the light. Where the loneliness wasn't punishment, it was protection. Because you had to be set apart for this next chapter. You had to be cleared out so something real could take root. And it's coming, my friend. The reinforcements are coming. The aligned people, the deeper love, the creative ideas, the divine support, the clarity, the softness, the wild laughter, the safe arms, the internal yes, all of it. It's not just coming, it's arriving now. But your only job? Make room for it. Let the door close. Let the old versions die. Let the hope that no longer serves you dissolve. Because something bigger is asking to take its place. This is the final contraction before birth. The tremble before the breakthrough, the deep breath before the curtain lifts. And I need you to know that the universe believes in you so deeply Not because you've proven yourself 1,000 times over, but because it can feel what's inside you. It can feel what's rising. This isn't just another season. This is the one that rewrites everything. So please, don't wait to feel ready. Just begin. Begin even if your voice shakes. Begin even if your hands tremble. Begin even if you cry the whole way through. Because the version of you that's waiting on the other side, they are brilliant, they are free, and they've been waiting for you to arrive. So go. Step, jump, leap, trust. You were born for this. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If you found value in this message, please like the video and share it with others who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe and continue your amazing journey by watching one of the videos showing on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. You weren't pulled into this message by coincidence. Some part of you has already started sensing the shift, feeling time stretch and bend around you in ways that don't make sense to those still glued to the surface of things, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. You see, there's something about you that stops people mid-thought, not because you're loud, not because you're trying, but because your presence carries a silent contradiction. You look like you've escaped something the rest of the world is still trapped in. And you have. If these words resonate with your spirit, please take a second and subscribe, like and share this video. You don't know how many souls, just like you, need to hear this. And you can be the vessel for them to feel the same truth that's already stirring within you. You know, people don't know how to explain it. They glance at you, and then glance again, as if their eyes are playing tricks on them. You don't seem to carry the weight of the years you've lived. You don't wear your pain like armor, and that unsettles them. Because we've all been taught to expect decay, to assume that with time comes loss, of glow, of softness, of joy. But with you, time seems to be adding something instead of taking it away. This is where the illusion breaks. They told you aging was a countdown, a linear unraveling of beauty, energy, and clarity. But what they never said, what they may never understand, is that time is malleable when your spirit is awake. The calendar might say one thing, but your reflection speaks another language entirely. One that says, I've lived, yes, but I didn't die inside doing it. So what's really happening? Let's break it down. First, you're not aging, you're recoding. Most people live on autopilot, programmed by external narratives about how they're supposed to feel and look at every stage. But something in you rejected that programming. Maybe it was the betrayal that cracked you open. Maybe it was the silence of solitude that gave you your real voice. But whatever it was, it interrupted the script, and you began rewriting it, not on paper but in your cells, your nervous system, your frequency. And now you're seeing the proof. The glow they notice? It isn't surface level. It's not about products or good lighting. It's the afterglow of truth. Truth metabolized through tears, honesty, and uncomfortable transformation. That's why your skin feels like it's been kissed by clarity. That's why your eyes sparkle like they remember something sacred, because they do. You remember who you are, even if the world forgot. Here's something most people miss. Stress is aging. But not just any stress. Inauthenticity is one of the fastest aging toxins on Earth. Pretending to be okay when you're not. Smiling to be palatable. Shrinking your truth to make others comfortable. That tightness doesn't stay in your mind. It lodges in your body. It pulls your shoulders forward, it dulls your eyes, it slows down your repair systems. But you chose truth over approval. And that one decision started to reverse everything. Now think about this. How many people do you know who've aged more from emotional exhaustion than from time itself? How many faces have you seen that carry the bruises of unspoken stories? And what about you? What did it take for you to stop carrying what was never yours? You've done something that very few people do. You let go of false roles, and your body noticed. The tension dropped, your breath deepened, your gut started to trust you again. The inflammation went down, not just physically, but spiritually. You stopped trying to impress a world that never really saw the real you. And the result? Your face started telling the truth. Not the story of how many years you've lived, but how deeply you've chosen to live them. That's the difference. People who perform through life age fast, but people who evolve through it, they age like galaxies expand, mysteriously, beautifully, and without apology. You didn't just avoid burnout. You burned away everything that wasn't real. And what's left now is magnetic. Not because it's flashy, but because it's rare. You are rare energy. And rare energy doesn't follow earthly clocks. You're not ahead of your time. You're outside of it. Now let's talk about the real secret behind your timelessness. You've stopped performing for the matrix. The systems that keep people trapped in stress, comparison, and endless competition have no power over you anymore. You saw right through it. You saw that chasing the next moment, the next approval, the next trend would only age your spirit into dust, and you walked away. You chose stillness, alignment, authenticity. When you stopped chasing, the game changed, and the rules, they didn't apply to you anymore. People who are constantly performing for acceptance or validation are burning up their energy at an unsustainable rate. They're living on borrowed time, stretching themselves thin to be who they think they should be. But you, when you chose peace over performance, you gave yourself the greatest gift, rest. And that's why you look different. You stopped leaking your energy into places that didn't feed your soul. And now, your energy is your own again. You're not only reclaiming your time, you're reclaiming your body's natural vitality. They don't know how to process it. They can't wrap their heads around how someone who has endured so much still carries so much light. And the truth? You didn't just survive. You transcended. You went through fire, yes, but you didn't come out of it broken. You came out of it like a diamond forged under pressure, sharper, stronger, and more radiant. The scars that most people would wear as signs of defeat, you wear as symbols of power. You didn't just heal from the wounds, you regenerated. You've entered your second act, not as someone who's been beaten down by time, but as someone who's learned how to use time to your advantage. The divine secret to your timelessness is not in some beauty routine or daily exercise regime. It's in how you've embraced isolation as your teacher. It's in how you chose to learn in silence, to grow in the spaces most people fear. You allowed solitude to refine you, not break you. You didn't need the world's noise to validate your growth. You went inward, and that inward journey is what brought you back to life more powerful than before. They think that time left you behind, but it actually equipped you with everything you needed to step into your greatness. You were hidden for a season, so you could age without corruption. You didn't have to rush like the rest of them. You didn't have to race towards things you didn't even want. Instead, you were shaped, molded, and prepared for something far beyond their understanding. Now, when you re-emerge, you're not just older, you're a force. You're not a product of society's timeline. You are the outcome of spiritual alignment and soulful preparation. You are a walking testament to what happens when you choose yourself, when you choose your truth, and you let that guide every decision you make. Time didn't wear you down, it made you untouchable. So let's reflect on something. Have you ever wondered why, no matter how hard life tries to tear you down, you still stand, stronger, wiser, and more magnetic than before? Why does it feel like every step forward just adds to your brilliance? That's not an accident. That's the result of aligning with a deeper truth. What they see in your face is not just the passage of years. They see the evolution of your soul. And that, my dear friend, is not something time can steal from you. They thought your best years were behind you. They thought you were running out of gas, waiting to fade away with the rest of them. But that's not who you are, and they'll never understand. You're here to break all those rules, as they stand in awe, trying to piece together the mystery of your timeless beauty. Know this, it's not a secret. It's a truth that lives in your heart. It's a truth that whispers to you in the quiet of your soul, telling you that you were meant to age differently. You were meant to unfold in ways that don't follow any earthly clock. And every year, every trial, every moment of solitude only adds to your radiance. You've learned something that most will never discover. True beauty isn't about stopping time. It's about becoming so deeply yourself that time has no power over you. And now, as they watch you glow, as they wonder how you've stayed so powerful, so fresh, so young, they will only see what's on the surface. But you know the real story. You've defied the rules. And the beauty you carry? It's not fading. It's unfolding. It's becoming. And it's only going to get brighter from here. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If this message resonated, please like, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to stay connected. Continue your awakening journey by choosing one of the videos on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. I have a quiet feeling that this message isn't meeting you in a moment of chaos. It's meeting you in a moment of emptiness. Not the loud, spiraling kind. The kind that just sits behind your eyes when you stare at the wall too long and wonder where your fire went. Let's start here. You're not tired from doing too much. You're tired from feeling too much. For people who never offered you a safe place to feel at all. And that's a different kind of exhaustion, isn't it? The world calls it burnout. But for you, it's betrayal. Quiet, slow, cumulative betrayal. By your own heart. Not because you did something wrong, but because you loved without rationing. You gave without invoice. You poured and poured until the people you were filling mistook the overflow for a faucet. You weren't built to be a machine. But somehow, you became one. You remembered birthdays that were never remembered for you. You supported their dreams while yours collected dust on a shelf. You answered every call, even the ones that came at 2 a.m., not because you had the energy, but because you knew what it felt like to have no one else. You didn't do it for recognition. You did it because it's who you are. But let me ask you something honest. When was the last time someone asked how you keep showing up? Not just thanked you, but actually paused and asked, "Are you okay being this available to everyone but yourself?" See, here's the thing about being spiritually gifted, emotionally intuitive, and deeply loving. You become magnetic to need. People can feel that you'll hold space when no one else will, that you'll soften when they collapse, that you won't judge them when they're falling apart. And because of that, they forget that you're human too. You've been carrying other people's healing while ignoring your own bleeding. And you've been applauded for it. You've been called strong, selfless, wise beyond your years. But deep down, what you've really been is unattended. No one noticed when your laughter started sounding more like a performance than a release. No one noticed when you stopped bringing up your needs, because every time you tried, the room went quiet. No one noticed when your body started giving subtle signals: tight chest, dull headaches, sleep that never felt like rest. They call it burnout. But it's not. It's grief. Grief for the version of you who thought love meant overextension. It's grief for the you who believed that if you gave enough, eventually someone would notice you were running out. But let me tell you the truth. No one told you while they were praising your generosity. Being spiritually generous without boundaries isn't noble. It's self-erasure in disguise. You are a vessel, and a vessel must be refilled, tended to, loved back into fullness. You don't owe everyone a response. You don't have to be the emergency contact for every crisis you didn't cause. You don't have to answer to guilt disguised as loyalty. You were not created to be accessible at the cost of your own well-being. And yet here you are, empty, heavy, asking why you can't feel your joy anymore. It's not because you failed. It's because you betrayed the one person you were never supposed to abandon: yourself. But here's the redemption. This is not the end. This is the pause that precedes reclamation. This exhaustion you feel, it's not a breakdown. It's a boundary forming. You see, the fatigue isn't asking for sleep. It's asking for a return to your own breath, your own rhythm, your own voice. And maybe that's what this season is really about. Not isolation, not punishment, but resensitization. You've been operating on low emotional volume for so long, numbing your needs to make room for theirs, that you forgot how sharp your instincts used to be. You forgot what your own intuition sounds like when it's not drowned out by someone else's chaos. So, let me say it plainly because you deserve to hear it. You are allowed to disappoint others in order to be faithful to yourself. You are allowed to walk away from emotional transactions where the cost is always yours. To stop being the strong one when no one ever asked if you wanted that role, or just defaulted to it because no one else would carry the weight. You are allowed to be too much for people who are not enough for you, because strength without softness becomes a prison. And you've spent enough time behind bars built by your own compassion. But something is changing now. Can you feel it? There's a new kind of clarity arriving. Not loud, not flashy, but certain. It doesn't beg. It doesn't prove. It doesn't explain itself over and over. It simply rises. You've outgrown the version of yourself who needed to be needed in order to feel worthy. That role is expired. The costume is itchy. The script is tired. And it's time to write a new one. One where you don't just hold space for others, you hold space for you. One where love isn't measured by what you give, but by what you allow in return. One where presence doesn't equal permission, where kindness doesn't mean constant access. You are allowed to be loved in your stillness, not just your service. And if that makes some people uncomfortable, let it. Let them adjust to your new volume. Let them sit in the space where your over-functioning used to fill the gaps. Let them meet the version of you that says, "I'm no longer available for being emptied." Because here's what no one tells you. The more sacred your energy becomes, the smaller your access list gets. That's not arrogance. That's energetic stewardship. And if you're feeling the friction right now, the confusion, the grief, the quiet frustration that no one seems to notice your fatigue, it's not a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that your spirit is calling you home, to yourself, to a life that doesn't constantly ask you to translate your worth through exhaustion, to a rhythm that honors your capacity and doesn't exploit your softness, to relationships that reciprocate, not just receive. You don't have to burn out to be seen. You don't have to break down to be cared for. You don't have to be useful to be loved. And now, the real healing begins. Not because someone finally showed up for you, but because you did. You chose to rest. You chose to stop explaining. You chose to stop bleeding for people who wouldn't hand you a bandage. And that choice, that quiet, holy choice, is sacred. So if you feel a little alone right now, good. It means the pattern is breaking. If you feel tired, good. It means the pretending is ending. If you feel disconnected, good. It means the reconnection is starting. You are not burnt out. You are finally returning to yourself after too many seasons of betrayal that wore the mask of love. This isn't exhaustion. It's emergence. Welcome back, my dear friend. You were never too much. You were just pouring into cups that were never built to hold you. Now, it's your turn to be filled, and this time, not just by others, but by peace, by clarity, by divine love, by the kind of love that doesn't ask you to earn it. The exam is over. You don't need to be the healer in every room. Sometimes, the holiest thing you can do is rest. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If you found value in this message, please like the video and share it with others who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe and continue your amazing journey by watching one of the videos showing on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. There's something beautifully rare about the fact that you're even here right now, listening to a message most people would never slow down enough to hear. And today, we're going to talk about a truth that's been waiting quietly inside you. Not asking for attention, but deserving it all along. So bear with me until the end, because this just might set you free. Have you ever noticed how quickly shame tries to dress itself up as humility? How naturally it slides into your mind, convincing you that simply wanting something good, something beautiful, something deeply human, is somehow wrong. It's a quiet pattern, almost invisible unless you catch it in the act. A voice so familiar you don't even question it, telling you that wanting more must mean you're greedy, ungrateful, or somehow less pure than the person you thought you should be. And the tragedy is, it works. Society knows it. Families sometimes know it too well. Friends, teachers, strangers with their well-meaning glances, they all know how powerful that subtle shame can be. Because a person who doubts whether they even should want something becomes very easy to manage. You don't have to chain them to a wall. You just have to convince them they don't belong in the place their soul was begging them to reach. So quietly, you stepped into the version of humility the world praised. You wore it like a badge of honor. You learned to temper your words, lower your expectations, smile at the floor instead of the stars. And maybe no one even asked you to do it outright, but you felt the invisible rewards of playing small. Approval, acceptance, the absence of uncomfortable questions. Let me tell you something. You are humble in the truest way, not in the way they want you to believe. And deep underneath all of that, where no one could see, you never stopped dreaming about what it would feel like to experience a great love, to build something remarkable, to walk through a city you've never seen before with the kind of joy that feels too big to carry alone, to live in a way that moves you. The desires never disappeared. They simply went underground. Tell me, when did we start believing that humble meant hiding? That being a good person meant being afraid to want something for ourselves? That is not humility. That is fear dressed up to look polite. And the people who once made you feel ashamed for your longings, they often had no idea of the damage they were doing. They were repeating their own patterns of scarcity, guilt, unworthiness that had been handed to them like family heirlooms. They taught you what they knew, but you, my dear friend, were made for more. Imagine walking into a room where no one expects you to apologize for your existence, where no one squints suspiciously at your dreams, where you can say, "I want to live fully, love deeply, create boldly," and nobody raises an eyebrow. That room exists, and it's not found by waiting for everyone else to change. It's created the moment you stop asking for permission. Somewhere along the way, you were made to feel that disappointing people was dangerous, that if you dared to want a little too much, you'd be accused of being ungrateful or selfish or unrealistic. That disappointing others was a betrayal. But what if disappointment is just shame's last desperate card to play? What if it's nothing more than an old ghost, one that only has power if you agree to keep believing in it? Please, don't cut yourself out of the life you want to live just because it might make someone frown or mutter or misunderstand you. Their disappointment is not your problem to solve. Their discomfort is not your destiny. And oh, what a weapon shame has been. But hear this clearly. That weapon only wounds you if you hand it the sword. You were never meant to stay small enough to satisfy other people's fears. You were never meant to tuck your dreams behind your back like contraband. Can you feel it? Even now, there's a part of you stirring, a part that knows you were not born to apologize for the light that keeps flickering inside you, no matter how many times life tried to blow it out. You don't have to cling tightly to every dream, as if your life depends on achieving every single one. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about control. We're talking about daring to ask, daring to say, "Why not me? Why not now?" Would it really be so wrong to book that trip you keep talking yourself out of? To end that friendship that always leaves you second-guessing yourself? To let go of that old image of you, the one that never allowed you to want, to expand, to breathe without apology? Sometimes the bravest thing you'll ever do is disappoint the people who had small plans for you. And you know what? You'll survive their disappointment. And on the other side of it, you might just find a version of yourself who finally feels free. You see, the world was never supposed to be a place where you fit into the smallest version of yourself just to survive. It was meant to be a canvas, wild and vast and astonishing, where you could move, dance, fall, rise, love, create, and ask for things simply because they made your spirit come alive. There's nothing shameful about wanting a beautiful life. There's nothing arrogant about feeling the tug of new horizons. There's nothing selfish about recognizing the desires planted in you, not by accident, but by design. And yes, some people might never understand why you stopped apologizing. They might call you ungrateful when you choose a path they were too afraid to even imagine. They might accuse you of changing, of losing your humility. But what they don't see is that true humility is knowing you were given these desires for a reason, and honoring them without shrinking yourself into a life that doesn't even feel like yours. Think about it. Who told you that asking for more was wrong? Who decided that wanting love, abundance, adventure, connection was somehow a betrayal of your goodness? If you trace it back, you'll often find it leads to people who were once shamed themselves. People who believed the safest thing they could do was build a life so small that no one could ever accuse them of wanting too much. But you are not here to live safely. You are here to live truthfully. And sometimes truth demands that you disappoint expectations, It demands that you stop carrying the imaginary report card where others grade your life according to their comfort levels. One day, you might look around and realize that many of the things you thought you needed to deserve were never about worthiness at all. They were about belief, about daring to believe the fact that you are already enough. Right now, before anything gets accomplished, before the dream becomes reality, before the applause, the validation, the proof. If there's something you want, a relationship, a breakthrough, a chance to explore more of this vast world, it's not wrong to want it. It's wrong to believe you must earn it by denying yourself first. There is so much life waiting for you once you stop trying to please the ghosts of other people's fears. The dreams you're drawn to, they're not random. The visions that light you up late at night when no one's watching, they are invitations. You don't need anyone's permission to answer the call that's already inside you. So I say, make people disappointed in you. Make them wonder what happened to the version of you they could control. Let them be confused when they realize you are no longer asking for a permission slip to be alive. You were made to stretch, to explore, to evolve. And it is okay if that journey makes others uncomfortable. It's okay if some bridges burn themselves down. It's okay if old chapters don't recognize the person you're becoming. In fact, it's more than okay. It's necessary. The only thing that truly matters is that you can look at your life, at the quiet spaces inside yourself, and feel proud. Not because you achieved every goal, but because you dared to be honest. You dared to want. You dared to trust the whisper that said, "There's more for you here." And when you finally stop living under the weight of false humility, when you let go of the manufactured shame that was never yours to carry, you will move through the world differently. Not louder, not angrier, but freer, clearer, bolder in a way that doesn't scream for attention, but simply exists in undeniable light. Somewhere deep inside, you already know. You are not greedy for wanting more life. You are simply awake enough to know it's possible. So don't attach yourself too tightly to the results. The goal isn't to grab everything you ever dreamed of and hold on for dear life. The goal is to live in a way that when you look back, you can smile. Not because it was perfect, but because it was yours. Because you didn't let someone else's limited vision of you become your ceiling. Because you didn't betray the part of you that was bold enough to ask, "Why not me?" Today, maybe you needed this reminder. Maybe you needed someone to say out loud what you've been whispering to yourself in the quiet moments. And if so, let this be it. You deserve to live a life you are proud of. Not someday, not when you've perfected yourself, but now, even in your imperfections, even with your doubts, even with the messy human ache of it all. Because the truth is, you've already been doing something extraordinary. You've been feeling, surviving, growing, and still daring to dream beneath it all. And that, my dear friend, is nothing short of a miracle. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If this message resonated, please like, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to stay connected. Continue your awakening journey by choosing one of the videos on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there.